Welcome back to Green Living with Tea, the space where we always explore what it truly means to live sustainably, naturally, and fully alive. So, are you constantly possibly fighting afternoon fatigue and have to take naps, waking up possibly tired, feeling like your body is running on empty? These are things I hear all the time. And we often talk about cleaning up our environment, but today we're talking about cleaning up and revitalizing our internal ecosystem. And it's time to stop relying always on caffeine or quick fixes. Instead, heal from the inside out. And in this episode, we are diving deep into how to reclaim your energy, health, and performance at the absolute root, the root cause. So joining us today is Amanda Soukoulis, an expert in decoding the body's signals and rebuilding natural vitality. We will discuss how to align your daily habits with your biology and why modern life drains our battery and sustainable shifts you can make today for lasting energy. So grab your favorite organic tea, of course, or filtered water with maybe a little lemon. And let's talk with Amanda, who is a former elite athlete, private equity CPA turned functional medicine and nutrition practitioner. And through her U3 system, uncover, uproot, unleash, she helps high performers resolve root cause health challenges, restore your energy, improve your gut health, balance your hormones, and optimize performance using precision data and personalized health strategies. So welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me. I am particularly excited to speak with you today on all things low tox living.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you have a lot. I don't think I've ever interviewed anybody that has the background that you have, which is fascinating. Your CPA turned functional medicine. How did that happen? How did you go from there to now where you are today?
Yes, I've always been a numbers person, always been really fascinated by data. My father was an entrepreneur in the finance space, so I grew up watching him, learning from him, growing from him. I attended the university or Penn State University, where I was on the dance team there, and I earned a few degrees in finance and accounting, got my master's in accounting. And that's what led me to be a CPA. Again, just fascinated by numbers. And I'm a very competitive person. I thought, well, private equity is the way to really win at the highest level. That's what my brain told me back then. Well, fast forward some years, and I was at the peak of my health. I was a finalist for the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders all over Netflix. And 2 months later, I had a health collapse in my 20s. And what started as just low heart rate variability, which is just a metric for how balanced and ready your nervous system is, led to low energy, led to a foggy brain, led to 35 pounds of weight
Wow.
gain, all within a few months. And I had gone from doctor to doctor to doctor. And keep in mind, I was working in private equity, and one of our sectors was the healthcare space. So here I am going from 8 to 9 hours of productivity to maybe one or two in a day. So obviously, the quality of my work decreased because I didn't have the energy throughout the day. I was needing naps, at 3 p.m. every day. I'm like, what is going on? I usually have all the energy in the world, all the joy in the world. I was constantly active, and I hadn't changed my diet, I hadn't changed my training, and I led a very healthy life. And so after I was dismissed by multiple doctors, it all kind of came crashing down on me on Christmas morning. And I woke up, my whole body covered in hives. I had a
Can I ask a
fever.
quick question for
Yeah.
timing wise? How old were you and how many years ago was this?
Yeah, so this was 3 years ago.
Oh,
And
recent,
yes, so it
semi-recent.
was it was it was 2023,
Wow.
and it turned into an 18-month journey of healing. I spent $70,000
Oh my
in
God.
1 year to figure out what was going on. And on that morning, Christmas morning,
Christmas.
I yeah, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and I just thought, I am on a health hamster wheel right now. No matter what I do, no matter what I try, no matter what, which doctor I go to, they all tell me I look fine and everything's normal. And so I kind of woke up that day and I was like, I can't live like this. I'm missing out on what would have been the very last Christmas that I had with my grandmother.
Mhm.
And I'm like, life is precious. And if you don't have your health, nothing else matters. And when you
Right.
don't have your health, your dreams, your pursuits, your goals, they get put on hold because all you can focus on is getting better. And what I realized in that moment was that for most people, their health declines slowly over 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Oh, try this medicine, try this medication, try this medication, right? And really we're just masking symptoms. And really, those symptoms are signals. They were telling my body something is not right. And that's when I found the world of functional medicine, right? We're just looking at the interconnectedness of the human body. How does your gut talk to your brain, talk to your hormones, talk to your detoxification systems? And all of this really matters because we're not isolated. Our body systems, they work together cohesively. And if there's dysfunction in one area, likely that's going to have a trickle effect to other areas. And so at that time, I had just gotten testing done on my gut microbiome. I did a 24-hour urine analysis to look to see how my sex hormones were doing, how my sex, my adrenals were doing, and then looking at different endocrine disruptors that may have been impacting both my sex hormones and my thyroid. And the hidden culprit for me was actually mold testing. So I ran
Oh,
a comprehensive mold panel testing 29 different strains of molds, and my mold levels came back through the roof. And
wow.
so
Okay, in your body, not in your house. You
in my
did the
body,
testing. Okay.
yes, in my body. And so I spent the next, 18 plus months healing my body, figuring out through trial and error what worked, what didn't work. I wasted a whole bunch of money, but really that's what then propelled me into what I do now. I said, you know what? This was so frustrating. I don't want any other person to feel the way that I do. So I'm going to go become part of the solution. And that's how I found myself in this world.
Wow. Okay, so the mold testing, you didn't even know, were you in an apartment or a house that had mold and you didn't even know it?
Correct.
And did you find the mold in that apartment or house? Did you have to move too, or?
Yes. So we found the mold, and surprisingly, most people think, oh, I live in a brand new home or it's only 10 years old. There's not any mold in this house or in this apartment. Oh, no, this was a brand new build in Dallas, Texas, from a very well-known name here in the DFW area. And I'll leave those details out because that part of it doesn't even matter. But what we did uncover was that in this brand new complex, there was black mold. But it wasn't just mold in the environment that had gotten into my body. There was also mold from grains, from coffee, from a whole lot of different food and beverages as well. Because what I found was that, yes, there were strains that came back for black mold in my body, but there were also strains that came back from different food and beverages.
Wow. And I assume you had to move?
Yes, very quickly moved out because if you're in an environment that's toxic, no matter what you try to heal internally, you won't be able to heal. You're just fighting an uphill battle. And that's something that I see often is we get back mycotoxin results. We see this person has 9 strains of mold. We run the mold protocol after we've already worked through a lot of other things. And then we retest, and there's been one or two times recently where the mold from environments, the black mold, the water damaged buildings is still there. So that's when we get to go on a search of, okay, what are you still being exposed to? Because all the other markers have come down. The mold that was from greens, the mold that was from apples, the mold that was from dry fruits, the mold that's from coffee, all of that went down. So what do we need to do to heal your environment so that your body internally can heal?
Wow. You went through a lot. I had mold in a condo my husband and I were living in the beach in Laguna Beach 20 years ago. I was getting sick, feeling
Mm.
fluish every day, and then I'd go outside and I felt fine. So it is serious, and luckily we found it pretty quickly and got out of there, of course. But you, was there somebody else living with you that also got mold toxicity?
So that's the interesting thing about mold, right? And about toxins in general is there's a genetic component to
Mm,
it. And how effectively is your body actually methylating, right? And methylation, it does a lot of different things, but it's a DNA process that helps to clear toxins effectively. And so there's genetic components to it, but there's markers in real time like homocysteine that show you how effectively your methylation is working. So my homocysteine was really high, which meant my body wasn't methylating properly, which that meant that my body couldn't clear toxins. So
mm,
it came down to the fact that my body genetically has a hard time clearing toxins. So that's the 10% base, right? Because genes account for about 10%, our lifestyle
right.
accounts for the other 90%. And then there was the blood markers that were in real time showing me your body is having a hard time clearing toxins because it cannot properly methylate. So that was the component that then added to it. But you also have to remember that we found out that there was a bacterial pathogen in my gut. So we found out
Mm.
that there was a bacterial pathogen in my gut, and I had been through most of the healing of that. And then I did the mycotoxins test. And so if I had just jumped straight into a mold detox, likely what would have happened is the mold would have just been recirculated in my body because my body wasn't prepared to properly cleanse it out. And so
Wow.
we'd open up my detox systems. We had to really heal my gut, get rid of the really nasty, the really sticky bacterial pathogen that did not want to leave my body. And then it was at that time that we were ready to implement the mold detox to clear it out.
And today you feel 100% better, I presume.
Yes, I am running, I'm working out, I'm training, I wake up with energy. I know exactly when to fuel, how to fuel, what my body actually needs. And, in real time, I'm retesting all of these same markers about once or twice a year to ensure that everything is continuing to move in the right direction.
So the problem here, I hear a lot, are, but my labs look normal. And your labs look normal. Labs is in your blood work, or I presume, right?
Yes. So when your labs look normal, but you don't feel right, something's off, most of the time it's that you don't have the right data set that you're looking at and you're not looking at it through the right lens. So standard blood work testing looks at a normal range that covers 95% of those who are getting the blood test done. Think about those who are more likely than not walking into the doctor's office. There is something going on. That's what's prompting them to go in. So they're already sick, already unhealthy. Now, that's not everyone, but that's the general population that is
Mhm.
going in more frequently to get blood work. So we already have a skewed set of data. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be normal. I don't want to fall into that 95 percentile. I want to be the 10% that's optimized. And so the way that I look at data and what we're missing is that one, you're not looking at it through the optimal lens. So most blood work panels will show that vitamin D at 30 is normal. If your vitamin D is not at least around 60, the sweet spot I like is 60 to 80, then a lot of systems in your body are not going to properly function. They're not going to properly fire and wire. That is low hanging fruit. Get outside more, find a high quality vitamin D3 plus K2 that can help bring that up. So that's the first problem with my labs look normal. The second is that we're not getting the right data. I found that every time I went to the doctor, they would run a complete blood count and they would run a comprehensive metabolic panel. And so often I have conversations with people I'm like, send me your blood work. I'll take a look at it. And that's all we see is the CBC and the CMP. But yes, that's going to tell us where your electrolytes are at, how well your liver may be functioning, or your kidney, or if you have any kind of inflammation. But what is causing that? It's not telling us a full enough breadth of what's happening. And so a lot of the blood work panels that I will do are 65 plus markers. We're looking at key micronutrients, like we're doing a full thyroid panel. We're not just looking at your thyroid stimulating hormone. We're looking at what is your free T3, your free T4, your reverse T3, and the antibodies that are connected to the thyroid. And then beyond that, we're looking at, does your body have enough selenium and zinc? Because those are the two key micronutrients for the thyroid. So I start to put the puzzle pieces together, but oftentimes blood work itself is not enough, right? And so that's where, what does your toxin load look like? Are there endocrine disruptors like pesticides or herbicides or BPA, which are microplastics? They're forever chemicals in the body. What about glyphosate that's sprayed over so many of our greens here in the United States? You know, if you work in an environment where you're exposed to heavy metals, what does your heavy metal load look like? What does your mycotoxin load look like? You know, most mycotoxin, toxin tests that I see are only looking at 8 to 9 different strains of molds. Oh no, the one that I love to run, that I run on myself, actually shows 29 different strains, what part of the body it's impacting, and how exactly it is, how you're being exposed to it, whether, again, that's from the water damaged environment, whether that's from food, whether that's from coffee. Believe it or not, a lot of coffees get mold in them. And so looking at everything comprehensively is so important. And so just to tie a bow on this, usually it's that either one, we're not looking at the right set of data, or two, the range in which we're looking at is through a normal lens. But just because something is common doesn't make it normal. And just because something is normal doesn't make it optimal.
Interesting. So you have a system called the U3 system. I wanted to go talk about this because is it something that you run on all your clients? Uncover,
Yes.
Unroot, Unleash, which I was intrigued by.
Yeah, so the U3 system, it was birthed because of my own health
That's what
experience,
I
right?
figured. Yeah.
And so I was so frustrated by my experience, and I wanted to help other people, what I call time collapse, right? Yes, you could probably figure it out on your own in a few years, like it took me, but I would rather pay and invest into my health for the next 6 months so that it can seamlessly integrate into my lifestyle in a way that I won't be running on this health hamster wheel. So, step one is uncover. And this is where we're actually identifying what's going on inside of your body. So I mentioned some of those blood markers, right? We're going to test 65 plus blood markers, looking at key micronutrients, looking at your inflammatory load, a full iron panel, a full thyroid panel. We're going to look at your detox capacity, and many other things. Homocysteine, like I mentioned, which is super crucial for detoxification. Then I find that most people, especially if you're a high performer, struggle with some type of gut challenge. And so if it's not a gut challenge, maybe it's a brain challenge. 90% of our serotonin is actually produced in our brain. So when I hear, hey, my brain's a little bit foggy, or I'm forgetful, or I can't remember things like I used to, my first thought is, we got to go check out the gut. So in this gut test, we're looking for parasites, pathogens, and overgrowth of bad bacteria. If there's any kind of digestive insufficiency, because sometimes a digestive enzyme alone is not enough. Sometimes you might need a specific one, either to support your pancreas or something else in the body. So we look at a full gut test, and in that we're also looking at gut neurotransmitters. So this is especially helpful when people are struggling, or they might be on an antidepressant, want to get off an antidepressant. You know, the ironic thing is that antidepressants destroy the gut, yet the 90% of our serotonin is produced in our gut. And so I have one friend of mine that I've worked with for about 6 months now. And when she first came to me, she said, my goal is to get off this antidepressant. I said, okay, great. Let's see what's going on within the gut microbiome, right? And so we look and we identified, oh, there was a bacterial pathogen in her gut.
How do you
This is
test for
what,
that? People might be asking.
oh, yeah, it's a stool test.
Oh,
So
okay, there we go.
yep. So you take a stool test, and the great thing is that you can do it from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to go into a doctor's office to do it. You ship it back to the lab. We get the results a few weeks later. So, blood work, we're going to look at the gut microbiome. We're going to look at a 24-hour urinary hormone panel. So, this is looking at how your sex hormones are metabolizing. And this is really important because in our phase one estrogen, there's three different types of ratios: the 2OH, the 4OH, the 16OH pathway. 2OH, this is the protective estrogen. 4OH, if it's not properly detoxified out of the body, it can actually cause DNA damage. And this is what can increase the risk for different diseases like cancer. Then there's the 16OH pathway. This is what gets reabsorbed back up into the body. Again, this is a detox challenge. If your 16OH pathway is too high, your body can't properly detox the estrogen. So we look at the sex hormones, we look at your adrenal hormones to see, is your cortisol really high and you don't even know it? Or what does your melatonin look like? Is that impacting your circadian rhythm? We test for all the different endocrine disruptors that I had mentioned within that test as well. We look at bone health and a marker for oxidative stress. Do you ever discuss oxidative stress on this show?
Um, Once or twice.
Okay, so I'll break it down very simply.
Break
This
it
is how,
down because it's interesting. Yes.
yeah, so this is how I understand it. We test for a marker called 8-hydroxy 2-deoxyguanosine. And there are multiple levels of breakdown in the human body of stress. And the highest level of stress on the body is oxidative stress. It is like the human equivalent of resting. Oftentimes, when someone has a very high toxin load in their body, I see that this marker is exponentially through the roof. And I don't know about you, but I don't want my body to be resting. And so there's very strategic ways that we go about bringing that down, right? And, we clean up our environment around us. That's step number one. Then we figure out what your body needs to fuel, what kind of antioxidant rich foods, like blueberries, right?
Mm,
That's one of my favorites.
that's
Do we
true.
bring in, right, to fuel our body better? But sometimes the fuel, the environment isn't enough, right? Water is obviously essential for detoxification, water, sweating, but sometimes our body needs more help. And that's where things like the right kind of peptides, the right kind of amino acids
Mm.
coming into the body to reduce that oxidative stress marker can be really, really beneficial. So, blood work, we do a gut zoomer, we look at the hormones, and then my favorite test is actually the mycotoxins test, which is why I was so excited to be here today, because that was the hidden culprit for me. And I find that it's a hidden culprit for a lot of people because mold toxins can get into our fat cells and they'll store fat in our bodies, which makes it really hard to lose that fat. And once we find that the body is holding on to mycotoxins, okay, now it's simple. Now we know what the challenge is. We just need to clear it out. So, step one is uncover. We do all the testing. Then we move to uproot. And you know what?
Can we
What
just
good
talk
is?
about the testing just a little bit? Because somebody
Oh
might be
yeah.
like, okay, here I got to send stools in. Is it urine testing? Is it blood testing? How is that done? Somebody might be questioning all that.
Yes.
The
So
uncover part, yeah.
yeah. So with the blood work, what we do is we'll either send a phlebotomist directly to your home, or we'll find a brick and mortar location where you could go get your blood
A
draw.
Quest Diagnostics or something like that.
Something similar to that. We
Okay.
partner with very specific companies, but there's always multiple options in the area unless you're somewhere very, very rural. But I
Okay.
do I do have a client that's in Buffalo. And so, yes, so I know that there's some spots out in your neck of the woods. So we do some of the We do some of the testing, we do the blood work, and then all the other tests you could do from the comfort of your own home. So the gut is a stool sample.
Right.
The urinary hormones is 4 urine samples throughout the course of the day, so we can block everything over that
Mhm.
24 hours. The mycotoxins is also a urine sample. And, because we're talking about toxin loads, another important piece of this is the genetic component. And the genetic component is really important because, yes, it lays the foundation. And oftentimes that's when it makes sense if there's two people living in a house together and one gets really sick from the mold and the other doesn't. Usually it has to do with the genetic component. And so the genetics testing is also a mouth swab and just quick 30 seconds, you ship the tube back off. We get those results about a month later. And so it's very, very seamless. There's very easy videos to follow as far as how to take
Good.
them. And the genetics test I geek out on because it tests for 167 genes across 36 different categories and it categorizes them and clumps them together. And then it turns it back around and it tells you, okay, how will your body respond to exercise? How will it respond to sleep? How will it respond with different micronutrients? How does your body respond at the cellular level? Are you more likely prone to inflammation? Well, if you're more likely prone to inflammation, then your propensity to take on some kind of autoimmunity is a lot higher. So, what do we need to do? What markers do we need to test for to really ensure that we keep your body on the proactive side of health?
Very good. Okay, excellent. So that's uncovering,
Then we get to uproot.
uproot.
So, uproot is where we actually go in and usually we get about 100 pages of data back. So, when we get the 100 pages of data back, I say, I just took my love for numbers and financial statements and moved it into the human body, which has always been my true passion. I think any kind
Okay.
of athlete can attest to this is that you love to figure out how you could constantly refine and optimize. And that's what I love about health is we never truly win the game of health. It's an infinite game. Consistency
Right.
compounds, it's consistency over intensity. And what do you need to do? What little habits do we need to create to rewire in order to make them second nature for you? And so in the uproot phase, this is where we actually look at all the data. So I'll take a day and I'll go through all the data and I start to do all the different symptom mapping. Oh, you came in with brain fog, and we found out that there is actually an overgrowth of bad bacteria in your gut. Oh, and you also have 10 strains of mold. Those might be the two big things that we see. So in the lab review, it's a 90-minute session and we walk through everything. I show you this is what it looks like through the optimal lens, and this is the path. This is the roadmap that we need to do. And something that's really missed when we're internally working through our body is that what I see is that people either try to throw the whole kitchen sink at their body at once, or they're not walking through their body in the right order. Order matters because if you just try to go straight into a detox without properly opening up your detox pathways, you might get hives, you might get a full body, right? Like my whole body broke out in hives for about a month straight because my
Wow.
detox pathways had not been properly opened. So we need to properly open up the detox pathways. We might need to then go heal the gut because if there's mold in the gut and the gut's not healed, it's just going to create a negative feedback loop, right? And
Mhm.
so this is where I walk through. This is our roadmap. We're going to have to change up the nutrition. We're going to add in this kind of supplementation. We might integrate different peptides into the mix, depending on if you would like them or not. They could be tremendous healing mechanisms. They go far beyond just weight loss GLP meds, right? There's so much power. They're just chains of amino acids. They're the natural building blocks to proteins. And so in that uproot phase, we're actually identifying what's the root cause of these symptoms that you came in with. We're no longer putting a band-aid over it. We're not looking for a quick fix. We're saying this is the path that 6 months from now, you will not need me. And then, what good is data without actually putting it to action? And so that's where this unleash part comes in. And
Unleash.
Yes, and so I love to work one-on-one. I love to be close to the people that I work with, and that's because I know that no two people are alike. T, you and I could get the same lab results back, and we could start the same protocol, but our bodies could respond very differently.
Hmm.
And so making sure that I'm meeting with my people every month and that I'm checking in with them is really, really crucial for success. And so it's that one-on-one, concierge style work that we do together to make sure that we're really healing their body properly in the right order and that we're able then to move people from a healing phase to optimization. Because I believe that we can only rise to the level in which our body is healthy. And so if you don't have energy, that might be the reason why you're struggling in other areas. But it's so ironic because we have systems and we have structure for just about everything, whether that be the systems in our business or the structure that we have at home leading our families. Why don't we run that same kind of data on our body?
Yep, I agree. And the U3 system is something that you have had a ton of success with many different people, I presume, over the years, and getting to that root cause and helping them with their health issues.
Yes, absolutely. Taken hundreds of people now through the U3 system. And, I'll touch on one person that really stands out in
Oh
my
yeah, I
mind,
love that. I
right?
love examples.
Yeah, I would love to share. So one lady, she came to me and she had already spent about $20,000 on testing alone over
Mm,
the past decade. And she was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune condition connected to the thyroid at a fairly young age. And so she was on a thyroid medication and she had already done a lot of work, all the genetics testing you could think of. And really, the weight just wouldn't budge, no matter what she ate, no matter how much she trained, no matter how much water she had, no matter how much sleep she got, nothing was moving. And so I explained the testing that we did, and what we found out was that she had a pathogen in her gut and she had a high strain of mold. And there was a few
wow.
things within her blood work that we had to touch on, but those were the two biggest culprits for her. And we've been working together now for about 2 years, which is just phenomenal. And her thyroid ANA teeter went from a 1 to 320 ratio down to a 1 to 160.
Mm, you must
And
love when you see that.
oh my gosh, and I got a message from her this
Mm,
morning that literally said, I had my cycle for the first time in years.
mm.
And that was a similar experience I had because I remember going to the OBGYN, right, in my 20s, and I found out that my estrogen levels were postmenopausal. Now, I was hoping that one day I would be able to have a family, and when I see that, I'm freaking out. And so I go to the doctor and I said to her, my estrogen is postmenopausal. What do we do about that? And she was like, well, are you trying to get pregnant right now? I said, no, but I knew that hormones were for so much more than fertility at the moment. She said, well, then I don't care. And I'm sure she was well intentioned and not meaning to put me down in that
Right.
way, but it lit a fire in me after that to be able to then go do a deep dive on the whole human body. And so you're absolutely right. When I hear moments like that from the people that I work with, where your ANA titer, that which, if you don't know what that is, ANA is like the autoimmunity marker, and we've essentially cut it in half. And hers wouldn't budge for over a decade.
Wow.
And now it's cut in half and she's thriving. She just got back from Europe and she's like, I'm so happy to be back because I miss the lifestyle that I have here and all the different ways that we really fuel my body. And so that's something that I love. When another person sent me a message yesterday and she said, I just ran the fastest mile time
Mm.
of my life. And she is very active, lives in Park City, Utah. And so she's always active. She's either golfing or she's skiing or she's running. And when she came to me, she just said, I just don't feel right in my body. right? And so I'm walking
You
her
hear that
through
all the time. Yeah.
this, and I knew what that felt like. I felt like a prisoner trapped in my own body. I'm like, what is going on? I know my body so well. I train so well. I eat so well, right? And so it's sometimes just seeing the data is enough to be like, oh, I'm not crazy.
Right.
There is
Right.
hope. That's what I always say. If you're feeling a little bit hopeless along your health journey, just borrow some hope from me. Because I
Isn't
remember that point.
the when you felt like that?
Yeah,
Isn't it amazing? It's basically a diagnosis. Isn't it amazing? Our cars can go into the car shop and they can plug something in and tell you everything that's wrong with your car. And we don't have anything like that for our bodies except through system like you, through the U3 system, checking. It's basically checking, uncovering, uprooting, and unleashing what could be going on in the body. Unfortunately, we hear all the time about doctors can't find anything and your labs are normal. So this is pretty amazing that you actually can help people through this whole system and, you know, pinpointing pretty much their health issues. My question is, I assume there's a lot more to this too, that you are helping them make different lifestyle choices and eating habits and what, environmental toxins. I mean, they have to make changes in order to keep getting better, I presume.
absolutely. It takes two to tango. And so we walk through the very first call that we walk through is really an audit of your lifestyle. While we're waiting for the results to come back, we go through what I call my flow foundations. How are you fueling your body? L, locomotion. How are you moving your body? O, off switch. What does your rest look like? And W, water. I mean, our body is made of mostly water, so we need to make sure one, we're getting enough, and two, we're getting high quality water with the right kind of electrolytes for you personally. And so we go through all of those. And, there's simple swaps. When we get back the endocrine disruptors and we see there's a bunch of parabens that are high, I say, go do an audit of all your beauty products. And believe me, I am not 100% low tox. I still get my hair done.
Me too. Me too.
There's still some makeup that I wear that might not be the highest
Cleanest,
quality,
right? I
the
get it.
cleanest, right?
Pick our
But
poisons, right?
pick your poison, right? Exactly. And so that's something I say. I'm like, hey, if your lotion is not the highest quality, go find
Yeah,
another lotion that's cleaner. And what about simple things like swapping everything that's plastic in your kitchen to glass? And you don't need to do it all at once. You could do one item every month. And that way it doesn't hit your bank account in a crazy way. And you're just swapping one thing at a time. Or when you get home from the
exactly.
grocery, yeah, when you get home from the grocery store, take it out of the plastic right away. Otherwise, it's just sitting in plastic. Move it to glass. So much better for our body. So there's little swaps, and we talk through all of those things. And it's not going to throw everything at you all at once. Some people come in and they already are very far along in the journey. They've already been on this journey. They just have been stuck because they don't have the right data. And so it's a little bit of me assessing, where is this person at? What do we need to do? What's actually
Right.
going to move the needle? And that's the thing, is that I want to know, what are your three goals? If one of your goals is to uh, you know, increase your testosterone, we need to identify what's actually causing your testosterone to be low. What's driving that low sex drive? No one talks about it enough, but so many people walk around with no sex drive. That's not normal. And if you're in a loving, committed relationship, you should crave that intimacy and that sex drive. And so, like you were saying about the car, if your check engine light's on, you bring it to the shop and the shop knows exactly what to do. Same thing is true with our bodies. Symptoms are just signals. They are gifts, literally gifts to us, telling us that there is something wrong at the cellular level. And if we can figure out what's going on at the cellular level, what's going on at the root with our gut, with our toxin load, with our micronutrients, with our macronutrients, making sure we're getting in enough protein. All of these things really, really matter
Yeah,
so that we can set ourselves up for success.
absolutely. So, a lot of great information here, Amanda. I mean, I give you so much credit for everything you're doing. You went through some horrible times in your life, and now you're helping people fix their health habits. Where can everybody reach you?
Yeah. Thank you so much again for this incredible
You're
conversation.
welcome.
I could talk toxins all day long
Me too.
with you. And I wanted to do something special for your guests, for your audience, and that's because I believe that these are the people that either are struggling, right? You're winning
Totally.
everywhere in life, but in your own body, or you have a lot of curiosity. And sometimes I find that that data shows us that curiosity. And so I put together a complete playbook that helps dive into some of the things that we discussed today. It's my peptide playbook, and it goes into more than just peptides. Peptides is a piece of the puzzle, but I would love to offer that as a part one for your viewers, for your listeners, because the playbook's good, but it's only going to give us about, maybe 50% of what you actually need. It's really the data that makes the difference. And so, like I mentioned, when we're walking through this first audit, this first lifestyle call, I would love to give your people the custom blueprint as well. And so, the
Awesome.
peptide playbook, the custom blueprint, this custom blueprint will be a one-on-one strategy session where we dive into what kind of symptoms are you facing, what have you already done to get to this point, and where are you really struggling? What are your goals to lead a healthier life, to be able to actually optimize your health and kind of get off this health hamster wheel? So that's our precision protocol together. And if you reach me on Instagram at Amanda Souks for short, for my last name, and then send me the keyword low tox,
Low tax.
then
Okay.
yes, low tox, LOWTOX, low tox, then I will be able to share that, and we'll be able to set up that custom blueprint call just for y'all. This is something that usually the people I work with, this is the first thing that we do once they've already invested into it. But
Awesome.
it's been such a great conversation today, and would love to keep the ball rolling.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Everything will be in the show notes, how to find her, all the links. I got the special word in there for you as well. She's also on YouTube and TikTok, and her website is her first and last names.com, but you will find that in the show notes just so you can access it after you're done listening or after you're done driving in your car or wherever you may be. And I encourage everybody to definitely check out her website and her social media and Instagram. And also, please take a moment and rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. It helps our green community keep growing, and you can connect also with me daily for more eco-friendly lifestyle tips on our Instagram at Green Living Gurus. And Amanda, I look forward to connecting with you down the road. This has been fabulous. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you flourish with everything you're doing and helping so many people out there.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. Everyone go review her show, because I know that that's the only way that this podcast grows, and what incredible information that T is putting out there. And it's time to become the CEO of your health, to really uncover what's
Totally.
going on within your body so that you could lead a life of excellence that is as full and abundant as possible. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you.